everyone, Sean Frangella here for motiontutorials.net with a Cinema 4D R18 video about one of the new features, which is the ThinFilm shader update. So if you haven't heard, Cinema 4D R18 was announced and there's tons of new features, so be sure to check out my full top 5 video to get a quick overview. And in this one, we're gonna focus on the new ThinFilm shader, a really cool update to the materials editor. What you can do with the ThinFilm shader is mimic the idea with physical materials of things like soap bubbles and this thin oily film that we would see on either transparent materials if we want to create something like soap bubbles, or like we see here in this cool skull render, adding it on top of other materials to create this nice looking thin film in addition to our reflections. So here we have a scene in Cinema 4D, and here's a quick render of what it looks like. And this is set up with these 3 skulls with this car paint reflectance material on that you can grab from the content browser. And in this first one, I want to talk about adding it to an existing material where we can get this look. And in our second example, I have this crazy scene, which is a bunch of spheres and a MoGraph cloner all blended together using the metal ball object, and then a transparent soap bubble looking thin film shader on top of it, which when rendered gives us this crazy looking colorful blobby render when everything blends together on top of each other. So let's take a look at this first scene and talk about getting this set up. So if we have an existing material and we want to add this thin film shader on top of it, what we want to do is go to our reflectance tab and go to add, and I'm going to add a Beckman layer, and that's going to add an entire additional reflectance layer on top of this. So you see we're back to the kind of chrome ball looking reflections. Well, to add that thin film on top of everything, what we can do is go to our layer color and go to texture, effects, and there's this new thin film shader tab. And if we click that, you can see in our preview, it's added that little oily thin film on top of it. And as this starts to render, you'll see the difference, and look at how much impact that's having with adding these colorful rainbow reflections in addition to what we were already getting here. So you can see where it's hitting here and up in the corners. And if we just want the basic setting, that's all we got to do. If we click into thin film, there's some additional options like our thickness, which we could turn up, and you can see how it'll look thicker. And if you want to read about this, you can actually right click on anything in here and go to show help. And there's going to be the full scientific breakdown of what each of these do. So you can use it in addition to realistic looking objects if you had something like sunglasses and you want to create that thin film, or on top of something more motion graphics and 3D modeling based like this to get a really cool rainbow looking effect. And with this shot in particular, if we're wondering how I put this together, well, it's one of the other new features of R18, this Voronoi fracture. That's probably one of my favorite ones. So if you want to jump ahead and see how you can use that to break objects apart like this skull, be sure to check out that video where I talk all about that. It's probably one of my favorite new features. And now let's talk about if we just wanted to do this transparent version of it like we have here, where it's all a transparent soap bubble, in this case, blending together on top of each other in this metal ball object. So in this case, if I turn off our metal ball object, you can see I just have all these spheres that look like a ton of soap bubbles. And if I do a quick area render of this, you can see what's going on. So it looks like soap bubbles on a black background. And if we open up our material editor, this is how it's set up. So let's delete these tags and talk about setting this up from scratch. So if we just had it right now, it's just default materials. We can set this up from scratch. I'm going to go to create new material and just open this up. And the first thing we want to do is shut off the color channel. Now we want to do that same process is we're going to go to our reflectance tab. We're going to delete our default specular so we don't have that interfering. And then we're going to do that same process, go to add Beckman, and then under layer color, go to effect thin film. And right now it's just the thin film material on top of a solid material. If we want it to be transparent like a soap bubble, all we got to do is check on transparency. It looks like everything disappeared, but if we click on additive, that's going to take care of that. And that's super quick and easy. And that's how you can now set up a cool soap bubble material. And one last tip with this, if we go back to our other scene where we have our 3D skulls and go to reflectance, one thing we could do with this thin film shader is change the blending mode to add. And you can see it's going to blend that a little smoother. So if you're doing it with existing materials, that's one last little tip that'll make it look a little nicer, shinier, and more reflective. and you can get really cool results like these quick 2 renders I have here. And if you want to check out more new features for Cinema 4D R18, be sure to check out motiontutorials.net, where I have full breakdowns on all of the new features, including my top 5 new features, MoGraph updates, the new ThinFilm shader, the awesome new Voronoi fracture, and more new features. And don't forget to check out some of the new Cinema 4D products I have in the online store at motiontutorials.net/store, where you can pick up Cinema 4D templates, lighting and rendering assets, and new packs for 360 Environment Maps Pro, which are packs of 8K environment photos, assets, and Cinema 4D templates to quickly and easily make your 3D scenes look awesome. If you have any questions on this tutorial or any of my other new feature tutorials, be sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Frangella, and check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/motiontutorials. I love hearing from fans of the videos and talking about all these new features. And if you want a quick dose of other new features for R18, be sure to check out the other R18 videos I have up on YouTube by clicking on any of those thumbnails that are popping up there now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next video.